Hi everybody, and welcome to this what we call session 3 in the Allsorts DIR floor time training for parents. Today I'm going to be talking about joining your child, joining them in what they're focused on, especially for young kids or kids who have difficulty in managing controlling their attention. Then we join them because that's where their thinking is at anyway. It makes it easier for us and it helps them take us in. As we join a child in what they're interested in, then they will probably be more able to take you in their play as well. What we find is if we try and just bring the child into joining us in what we're wanting them to focus on, that's really tricky for a young brain or a child who's really struggling with their attention control. And if we say, look at this, do this, come here, then you cut across what they're focusing on at the moment, and then probably have less ability to shift what they're thinking about. Joining them makes it easier. They grow their attention from where they're thinking, and you can support them and enhance their attention control by doing that technique as well. So we'll just move on to the slides. One thing that when we're joining a child, and this builds on the last two talks that I've done as well. So when we're joining a child, we want to first of all really work out what is it that they're interested in, what is capturing their attention in the moment, what are they enjoying and loving. When we see a child really being connected in joy and focus, then that we know that that's going to really support their brain attention control and their thinking in the moment as well. And sometimes as parents, it can be quite difficult to know what's kind of lighting them up in this time. So take some time just to sit by and watch. So we talk about wait, watch, and wonder. Just be there, be present, and simply observe what they're doing. And when we're doing that, we're sending really strong messages to our child as well. What you're doing is cool, and so and I'm not getting in the way. Sometimes our children can be very reactive when parents come along or other people come along. You're going to interrupt my play. It's going to make me feel grumpy. So sometimes just sitting in parallel with them for a while, admiring them, noticing, connecting emotionally with what's happening can be a really great way to start. So notice what they're interested in and be present. Share, as we talked about before, share your emotional selves with them. And when they're doing something playful or they're absorbed in things, if we share this wonder, ooh, then they'll feel your interest. And what we see is that when we show our emotional selves to the child, it lends a bit of emotional impact to them. It builds up their interest because you're kind of almost doubling that interest within their own brains to focus. So we support their focus by also lending our focus in what's going on. And let's say, for example, a child is looking at a car, we go, oh, car, wheels, then that helps them to engage more in what they're looking at as well. And that's great as a start off. Even if it's something that they're really focused on a lot, that's a common thing for them to look at. If we join them in what they're thinking about, then we're opening up them their emotional selves to connect with us through their loved activity. And that's still going to be a great place to start for them. So we're going to simply be present with them. I'm with you in this car watching moment. I'm with you in this trampolining moment. I'm with you in this, um, you know, playing with my hands moment, depending on what it is that they're really curious about. And as they shift their attention to other things, when they're in the really early stages of floor time, as they shift their attention, we're going to shift with them. Again, because it's hard to pull them back once they've lost their focus. Later, when they've got more adaptable, um, more elastic attention control, we'll say, for want of a better word, then they will be able to potentially look away, look at other stuff, and you might draw them back. But typically in the very, very earliest stages where they're quite flitty in their attention control, it's better to shift with them. And as you shift with them, then they are going to be able to elongate their attention on the next thing that they're focusing on. So we'll stick with that for the moment, so not to confuse things. And as we're joining them, then First of all, in simply being with the child, we're going to use rich affect. We've used that word before. Sharing your emotion through your wows, through your facial expressions, through your proximity, through your body language, to help them, again, take you in and also increase their own emotional brain input, which will lend itself then to support their curiosity and their play in the moment. So we may be using rich gesture, we might be using our voice. And again, we talked previously about having an interesting voice, up and down, lilty voice, because that's very relaxing for children to listen to. So use that, wow, it doesn't have to be words, because as soon as you start making play sounds, then they're going to take that in. But if they're starting to have to process complex language, then they may well shut you down again. Too much to process. I'm really focused on this car at the moment. And if you're talking beside me, then that's going to take some of my effort. And I really want to focusing on the car. So I would typically advise start with play sounds so that they don't have to really process the words and they can still engage in what they're playing with. Maybe later, again, when it's going well. Dr. Greenspan would have said when it's got cooking, then you might take a risk and say a few words. But at this early stage, when you're just joining them, then use your play sounds, use your facial expression to show wonder and admiration. That will give them a lift, that will reduce down their kind of stress or their kind of like barrier about you joining them, and then we can take it from there. Okay, and maintain that shared attention. So within our floor time play, we're really wanting to kind of switch off our own kind of luggage that we bring into play with us. Really focus on them. Don't get yourself distracted. If we can maintain that shared attention, then we're also going to prolong their own ability to attend. If we then get distracted and think about other things, then that's going to impact on them taking us in. So try and focus as well on what's going on. And some of you as parents will also have your own attention control difficulties. You might be stressed or worried. You might have other things going on in your visual field that you get distracted by. See if you can really emphasize this focus in this moment though. And when we're helping a child to open up to the world of engagement with you, we really want the child to be the leader at this stage, again, for many, many reasons. But if they are the leader and you are the follower, that's going to be much easier for them as far as attention control is concerned. But also, we want children to learn how to be the communicator. And if we're there in our wonder and then they do something that you can see as communication with you and you respond, we're building up their ability to initiate interactions. And even if they can do that with you as parents, lots of our children struggle to initiate interactions with other people. Whether they go to nursery or even the Allsorts group, maybe it's really hard for them to initiate with the staff around them. If you work on it as the parent and allow them to feel bold and brave and take initiative, then you're going to build up that skill for life, even in adult life. So allow them to be the director. They initiate with you. They start to show you what they're doing, and you are the best supporting actor alongside them to help them feel they can do even better play for even longer in more complex ways. And as we're doing it, we're going to support that child to connect emotionally with us through a range of feelings, maybe through fun and excitement, maybe through deep curiosity, maybe sometimes through frustration. What if this toy is broken and now I don't know what to do with it? I'm getting some big feelings around frustration. Well, you can help them to deal with that frustration and maybe share that with you. Oh no, oh, broken. So again, they can see you on the same page as them, but it helps them manage some of that big feelings that might be overwhelming. It's normal to get frustrated, particularly when you're a child and you can't do things and you've got an idea and you can't figure it out, or you're trying to communicate things and you want to say something but the other person doesn't understand. It's highly frustrating for the child, and oftentimes children will get up and walk off. They'll give up. It's too much. What we want to do in those situations is help them manage that frustration through our affect, helping them down regulate that stress. So when you give deep input, when we're really curious and watching and wondering, figuring out what's going on in the child's emotional self, then we can allow that child time and your emotional input to help them to calm down so that they can share that frustration in a way that's a bit more organized. Oh, it's broken. Oh, I can help you, and get involved then. Don't get involved too quickly because then that might be quite difficult for them, but be really clear and slow and soothing for them. And then they may be able to manage that better with you and figure out how to problem solve with you in time. The other thing that we're going to do when we're playing with children and kind of figuring out what they're doing is figure out, how can I make what they're doing already interactive. Lots of our kids will be really busy on what they're thinking about, but in the floor time practice, we're really wanting to stretch that to be more interactive, and you as parents are going to be key players in helping your child become more interactive in a back and forth flow. So here we've got a little picture of blissful activity where a child is having a great time splashing, and there may be many ways how you might respond to this moment. If you start splashing, they might be like, wow, mum's also loving the splashing, brilliant. She's not going to tell me off for doing the splashing. I've got my boots on, it's all good. And because you're splashing too, maybe they'll look up with you with a look of delight. It might be that if you do the splashing, that they become a bit fearful. There's a splash coming my way. And then you're going to read them and realize that, and maybe kind of only do little gentle splashes, quiet splashes, to show that, again, you're loving the activity, you're noticing what they're doing, you're on the same page together, but you're not going to trigger a startle response in them by splashing in their face. So there's a number of ways when we really tune into the child, there's a number of ways that we can respond in the moment, that can be really impactful to what the child is needing from us. Another option might be that we're just there saying splash every time they splash and maybe giggling. Maybe we have our face at their eye height because then they can see how happy we are and how much we're enjoying their fun in this moment as well. And maybe you'll get a little bit of a look from them of delight, and then you can share the delight back. As parents, it's really powerful when we share our delight with our child. It makes us feel good, but of course it also helps that child to feel good as well. And maybe they do a second splash and they look towards you. Did you also delight in that one? Did you see how big that splash was? And then you can both giggle together. So joining children in their play at this very, very early stage is an incredibly powerful attachment activity and also a communicative activity, and it can work on many, many levels. It's not just a silly old splashing activity, it's a very powerful way of supporting your child to develop and progress. So I've already said this already, helping them to expand their attention is really, really vital. All of your children will need their attention control expanded, and they will need us to provide the fuel for that. As we join them in what they're thinking about, and we use our emotional selves, it's like that we're feeding their emotional brain and their thinking brain. So our thinking brains, if you think about 3 brain levels, we have our kind of survival brain, which is all about, am I safe, am I not safe? Is this fun? Is this something I should avoid? And then our emotional brain then really helps us be curious, to have a sense of wonder about what we're doing, and is the energy then the fuel for us to think in our thinking brain, that 3rd level, in more complicated ways. And maybe sometimes the activity is a bit tricky, but the child's completely driven to want to figure it out because their emotional brain is really supportive. Their survival brain is really supportive. If we get these parts right through what we're doing as parents, helping them feel safe, helping them to feel curious, helping them to feel joy in the moments, then they will work harder in their attention control. They'll expand their ability to focus on things, even when they're tricky, because now it's worth their while trying to problem solve around this. And you might also join them in that problem solving as well. Make that little tricky bit a bit easier for them, so they can overcome some of those hurdles. Maybe, for example, in this activity, they've got the hooks. These hooks are really, really impossible. They've lined them up, but they can't get the hook in. And then again, your sense of wonder, oh, look, hook. it's so tricky. They might look at you and they might be kind of trying to figure it out. And as they see you looking, and maybe your eyes are right by the hooks, they bring their eyes to the hooks, and maybe you figure it out together. Maybe you take it and help them hook it in, but you're hooking it in a way that shows them that you're not taking over the activity. You're just helping them with this really tricky part. Because we know, don't we, that our children, when they find things tricky, they just put it down, they move on to something else. And so you're not they're not expanding their attention control when it's tricky. They're just breaking their attention control and they go off to something else. By supporting them with your emotional energy, helping them to feel calm and comfortable, and maybe doing a little bit for them to make it super easy, but not taking over, that can help them stay connected long enough to see the beginning, the middle, and the end of this complicated activity of hooking the train pieces together. And they may learn in time how to do that for themselves. So your affect, your closeness, your noticing, maybe your commentary in really simple words, maybe even just through play sounds, is going to help them in their ability to do a little bit more complicated tasks. If we're thinking about expanding a child's activities as well and their attention control, I've given you some examples here. You know, if a child is naturally playing in an activity where they've got the cars that are going back and forth and they haven't had another idea about how to make this activity varied and different, maybe you can have something around that you can use. So maybe you've got something that could be a ramp that the car can go down, and now they've got the car and it goes down a ramp and it goes crash at the end. That's a new idea. And now maybe they'll focus on that activity for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whereas before maybe they were only interested in it for a minute because it got a bit boring and they didn't really know what else to do. So you can help them have an extra idea if you've taken the time to wait, watch, and wonder, and just gently inserted yourself in what's going on without them feeling irritated by that, then you can kind of demo something, not take over, but just have something that they might like nearby. And maybe you have a car and it goes down your ramp. And then they might go, actually, Mum, that's really cool. I'm going to try it with my car. And they've then added another aspect to their repertoire of car play. If you've got a child who's got some imaginative play and they've got a doll or a teddy, then you can help expand their play through having a few other bits around. You know, a doll's got a brush or a bottle or a bed with little blankets. And if that's nearby, and maybe you've got a doll and your doll goes into bed and gets all covered up and cozy, maybe they might think about their doll doing something fairly similar in a minute. Again, their doll routine then has a few more steps to it. Don't want to take over. You're just giving examples and ideas to help that stem their imagination, their thinking skills, their planning and ideation, basically, in these moments. And again, you know, when you're watching from the side or a little bit involved, but you're not taking over, back to play sounds, back to single word commentary, make it really simple so they don't have to do a lot of processing. They're focusing on what they're focusing on. They start having to really process you, then they may need to shift their attention to you and stop focusing on what they're doing. In time, as your child gets more capable, then they will start to be able to shift their attention from what they're looking at in play to you, and then come back to looking at what they're doing. Again, shared references. Just look towards you. Did you see what I did? And then come back to the play again. In time, they might point to what they're doing and kind of do a little nod to you. And you might also come and bring your face down and look at what they're doing. So then it's a really nice social interaction around the play. That all grows from you focusing first on what their ideas are and helping them expand. Okay, so we're really thinking about ways to help you insert yourself in what's going on without being annoying. Um, and sometimes when children have little figures or they're interested in their special interest, it can be quite exclusive, but a really lovely way to become absolutely pivotal to the action can be through doing rough and tumble play. Even at Allsorts, you know, when they climb up the little steps at the window and you just help them jump down again, or they're on the trampoline, you hold in their hands, or we're swinging them in a blanket. They can't do those things without your help. So you are the helper in that moment. Whereas if they're really engaged in things that don't need you, then they don't see you as a helper. But if you go first with rough and tumble play or physical play, or on the rocking horse or whatever, where you're doing all the rocking, that's brilliant. You know, I need my mum or my dad involved in this because I can't do it on my own. I love it when they rock the rocking horse for me. I love it when I can hold their hands to jump off the step. So inserting yourself in rough and tumble play is a really great way to join them in what they're doing. And again, use delightful sounds. Look towards when we're kind of thinking about them looking towards you and sharing a moment, we're also looking towards them and sharing a moment. So give them the gleam, give them the look of delight, support them to feel proud of what's happening in the moment. And all of your kids can do this particularly through rough and tumble play. Okay. Sometimes what we do when we're helping a child to really connect with us deeply is they go up the steps, they want to hold your hands to jump off, or we might wait a second. Oh, you know, they might have to look towards us then. When are we going to do this jumping off? And you're just like, maybe they need to show you again. So as we wait and give them the smile and give them the sounds, you know, they know that we haven't got bored. They know that we're still engaged, but maybe they need to do something else to get the action started. Sometimes we might say ready, steady. And again, they might kind of use their body. They might say go. They might make a sound. They might give you a look of come on, let's do this. But as we wait, sometimes in these routines, it gives them the opportunity to step up with their own stuff as well. And just a last piece in this, you know, whatever they're sharing in these moments when we're waiting and watching, it doesn't really, for me, and as a floor timer, whether they say a word, whether they give a look, whether they move their body, all of those things are communication. So notice everything that they communicate through every means, and then respond accordingly. Don't just wait for a word at this early stage in development. Unless your child is, some of your children are speakers, if they're speakers, then you know use your knowledge of their abilities to stretch them as far as needed. But some of your non-verbal children, so we go with everything they share in order to allow them to understand that they are already active communicators through their gestures, through their body language. And they can use those gestures and body language to communicate again in future situations. And that helps them to understand what is communication and also understand that you have understood them. So it is a back and forth flow of communication as well. Okay, so that's video 3 from the sessions. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please ask questions within the group when you come back and have a lovely week. Bye bye.